I ghosted my family and fiancé after what my sister did. I need a little advice on the matter, as I don't know what to do anymore. I was 21 when my fiancé asked me to marry him. He was the absolute light of my life. We had known each other since preschool, and our families were very close. He would come and have dinner with us daily, and vice versa. He doesn't have any siblings, but I have 2 older sisters, which is very important, as he was also very close with them. We grew up together. When we started dating, I don't think our parents stopped celebrating for weeks. He helped me deal with a lot of my anxiety, and even when I gained a little weight and my mother berated me, saying he was going to leave me, he told her off and said he loved me for who I was, not for what I looked like. Even though he claimed I was the most beautiful girl in the world to him. We were only engaged for 6 months before the incident. My middle sister, let's call her Nikki, was a very cold person. She never showed any affection. She only ever opened up to my fiancé, as she said she saw him as a brother. And he also helped her through a lot of her dark times, such as battling drug addictions and breaking the law. She and I never saw eye to eye. I loved her dearly because she was my sister, but I didn't like her as a person. Out of the blue, she told me she wanted to take me clubbing, as we had never been together before. And she felt bad that she was so distant from me. I agreed, and that night we went out. Clubbing wasn't really my style, but once I had a few drinks, I loosened up a little and began having fun. The night was going smoothly until Nikki spotted a guy across the room, whom she claimed she wanted to climb like a tree. She walked over to him, and within a few minutes, she was back with a sour expression on her face. I asked her what was up, but she never said anything. I kept pressing because I didn't want our night to be ruined. She then told me the guy didn't want her number, but he wanted mine instead. I told her he was a loser, and that there were plenty of guys around who would kill to be with a girl like her. She didn't budge though. She told me she needed to use the restroom, and then we would leave. I waited for over an hour. During this time, I was sipping on a lot of different cocktails. I started feeling really dizzy and lightheaded. I figured I'd just cab it home, as I was certain Nikki had left. On the way out, I bumped into a friend of Nikki's, whom she had briefly dated. He asked me if I needed a hand into my car, and I explained I was getting a cab. He said he was getting ready to leave and suggested we share one. I told him okay, and we walked out of the club together and into the first cab we saw. I tried to find my phone in my purse, but I felt myself getting dizzier and dizzier. I don't remember what happened next, as I blacked out. The next morning, I woke up on a hard sofa with my head pounding. When I came to, I realized I was in Nikki's friend's house, and my phone was sitting on the glass table in front of me, but it was dead. When he noticed I was awake, he offered some tablets and water, explaining that I had passed out in the cab, and since he didn't remember my parents' address, he took me back to his place and laid me on the sofa. I told him I needed to go home as my fiancé would be worried. He called a cab and I left. When I arrived at my parents' house, my mother, father, Nikki, my fiancé, and his parents were all standing in the living room. I thought they were worried about me, but the instant I opened my mouth, my fiancé asked, "How could you do this to me?" I tried to explain that my phone had died, but he started screaming, asking how I could cheat on him. I was baffled. Why would he think that? I tried to explain the night's events, but I kept getting cut off. Nikki then chimed in, calling me a liar and asking how I could be so heartless to a man who had been there for me through thick and thin. She went on to say that I flirted with random guys all night, and that when she went to the bathroom, she saw me leave with her friend. I told her what had happened, but she showed me photos on her phone where, as we were leaving, her friend's hand was on my back, ushering me outside. Yes, the photo did look bad, and I was so drunk, I didn't even realize his hand was on my back. My fiancé was so angry, he kept shouting, and both his mom and mine were crying. I then asked Nikki to call her friend, as he could confirm that nothing happened. When she called him, he told a completely different story. He said I begged him to take me back to his place, and when he did, we slept together multiple times. I saw red and started crying and yelling at Nikki, because I knew she had organized this whole thing to make me look bad. I begged my fiancé to believe me, but he just shook his head and left. When everyone had cleared out, my mother slapped me across the face and told me to get out. I left and went to a friend's house, where I stayed for a few nights. During those nights, I called my fiancé, crying and pleading with him to believe me that nothing happened, but it all fell on deaf ears. He never returned any of my calls or texts. My mom texted me, saying she was kicking me out and couldn't believe I would do such a thing. She hurled a lot of hurtful slurs at me that I don't think I can repeat here. She didn't even give me time to get my things, as she threw everything out. I was now homeless. None of my family would take me in, as they chose my fiancé and mother's side. I was homeless and single in less than a day and a half. My entire world had been taken away because of Nikki's lies. For weeks, I tried everything to get my fiancé and family back. The limit for me came during Christmas time, when I went to my mother's house to try and reconcile. I was couch surfing during this time. When I got to my parents' house, I knocked on the door, but no one answered. My friend then called me and told me she had just seen on Facebook that my family was in another state celebrating Christmas. They had posted pictures online, everyone was there. My sisters, parents, grandparents, and even my fiancé and his family. When I saw the photos myself, I couldn't stop crying, as they all looked so happy. I cried for days and days before deciding to block them all. I even returned my engagement ring. My friend knew someone a couple of hours away who was looking for help in his restaurant. He even had living arrangements above where he worked, so I could get rent at a cheap price and work at the same time. I wanted to start over with my life, as it hurt me that no one took my side, and they all left me to fend for myself. I was able to move pretty quickly and was doing well. The apartment was tiny, and I had to work 10+ hours almost every day, but I was able to save a lot of money. I am not living in that apartment anymore. I was able to rent a much nicer condo, but I'm still working at the restaurant as an assistant manager. Now, it has been roughly 2 years since I left, and I have not spoken to any of my family. I had no idea what was going on with them until I got a knock on my door. It was my ex-fiancé. I was shocked, to say the least. All these feelings came rushing back, and all I wanted to do was jump into his arms. But then I remembered the pain I had felt and tried to slam the door in his face, but he stopped it and asked that I let him explain. He said that Nikki had gotten married and confessed that she lied about the situation because she had found someone she loved so much and realized what a horrible thing she had done. I asked him how he found me, and he said my friend told him. My entire family had been trying to get in touch with me and wanted to see me. I told him I needed time to see if I even wanted to have them in my life. He left, and I have been a mess since. I don't know what to do. I know I will never, ever forgive Nikki. She could rot for all I cared, but it's hard because my other family members and fiancé didn't know she was lying. But I also felt like they abandoned me too quickly without letting me explain my side. I don't know if I should forgive them. Any advice would be much appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Update. Wow, guys. I don't even know where to begin. I am honestly so grateful for all the support, advice, beautiful messages, and awards you guys have given. I wish I could personally thank each and every one of you, and I did try my best to reply to every message. You guys are honestly so amazing, and I cried reading all the comments. My heart has never been so touched by the amount of love and support I got on this post. I love all of you so much, and I hope all of you have the best life you can live. I decided to write an update as so many people have been messaging me, asking if I was okay and how things were going. I want to keep you all in the loop, as you all were so kind to me and deserve to know what has happened since. Firstly, I never expected this post to get so much attention. A few hours after posting, my ex-fiancé came back to my apartment and literally begged me to hear him out. I only let him in because my neighbors heard him making a fuss at my door, and I didn't want to be embarrassed. It was so awkward having him in my place again. I felt like crying. He tried to hug me straight away, and I just backed off. He told me to sit, and he would explain everything. He said after I left, Nikki tried to make a move on him several times, and when he rejected her, she got mad and would hurl insults at him, claiming that he wasn't good enough for me and that he didn't deserve to be in our family. He said he was so heartbroken that he didn't know what to do and isolated himself from everyone for a long time. He said it wasn't until Nikki got married and confessed to her husband what she had done that he found out. She told her husband, and her husband told my ex-fiancé straight away, who in turn told my family. He said that my mother collapsed and was so ashamed of herself. They had all tried to get in touch with me. They even hired a private investigator who found out I was a few hours away from them, but they didn't have the exact location. This whole thing is a mess, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I should give him a chance, but I don't know if I am ready to get hurt again. I do still love him, but I am so confused. My mom has also been admitted to the hospital as she has not been eating or drinking and is in a really bad way. Everyone in the family has tried to reach out to me, even my dad, who is a very stubborn man. My sisters have also tried, but I'm not interested in speaking to them. It's just so hard because I loved my family so much, and I thought they loved me too. It was really hard going through all this alone. I honestly am at such a loss. Any advice would be greatly appreciated, as I don't have anyone to talk to about this situation.